You may be wondering what you should feed your student. Well, again, they're here for an immersion experience, so they are expected to eat what and when you eat. So, unless they are allergic to some food, which they might be, and that will be in their file, it'll say what foods they're allergic to, if any. Unless they're allergic to foods, they should be open to trying the different foods that you eat. So, we don't expect that host families would go out of their way to cook things just for the student. Please eat what you would normally eat. It's kind of fun for them to be exposed to the different foods. In the summertime, we have lots of barbecues, we picnic, all of those things. So, corn on the cob is something very American that they usually haven't tried before. Um, think about some things in your region of the country also that might be kind of special. What something to showcase your area, from what state you're from, and let them try it. I've always told the students that I've hosted that if I know that it's something they've never eaten before, I usually just tell them, uh, go ahead and try it. I encourage them to try it. I usually just give them a small portion and let them try that. And if they don't like it, they won't ask for the seconds. And I usually tell them I won't be offended if they don't eat anymore or if they don't like it. But I just try to encourage them to try new things because that's part of why they're here is to try new things. The whole goal is to help them become open-minded and and trying new things, going outside of their comfort zone. Um, the the way we eat here in America also tends to be a little more casual. A lot of families don't have specific meal times. We might eat various times depending on the day, depending on what our schedules are like each day, which is very different from what they're used to. They usually have very specific times for eating. So this is something to maybe address in the beginning when the student comes, and just let them know what time you plan to eat that day, or whatever your routine is. Um, many households, in many households, the kids tend to just make their own sandwiches for lunch as they get hungry. And again, that's something to address with the student right away so that they know what they can expect. Many students from these countries aren't used to, they're raised where when they're in someone else's home, they would never go into the refrigerator or into the pantry of someone else's home at someone else's home. But you can, tell them if you're comfortable doing that, you can tell them it's totally fine. You expect that they would just, they can take what they want from the refrigerator or the pantry, but this may take some coaching. Some students are just not comfortable with that. So you just have to explain that and just tell them that it's okay for them to go into the refrigerator and get something to drink or eat if they choose. Again, it's very different from what they're used to. As was mentioned earlier, the host family is expected to provide 3 meals a day. So if you do go out to eat at a restaurant, that would be provided for the student also. If students, if kids, the American kids decide they want to go out for maybe an ice cream cone or go to a coffee shop and grab something to eat or drink there, and but it's outside of the 3 meals a day, it's fine to ask the student to bring his or her own money along and pay for that, because we don't want the American student to feel like they have to pay for all of the extra snacks that the student would be eating. So it's okay for them to use their own spending money, for the foreign student to use their own spending money for things like ice cream and snacks or coffee on the side, things like that. So what kinds of activities to do? Again, your daily routines are great, just incorporating them into all that. But some other fun things are thrift stores, very American. Garage sailing is always fun. We actually, one time when we hosted a student, we had a neighborhood garage sale, and our student got to participate in um, labeling all of the items, pricing the items, and helping to sell them. So that was kind of a very different experience for her. Or just visiting garage sales, they like that. Baseball games, of course. If it's a local one, that's great too, like a local high school game. Also, I would say if you could get them into your own high school for a tour of the high school, that would be fantastic, because they don't have sports in their schools typically. If they want to play sports of any kind, or even a musical instrument, or do theater, any of those things, they have to join a club outside of school to be able to do those kinds of activities. So they're usually very surprised to see that in our high schools here we have so many different sports fields, baseball fields, football fields, basketball courts, all of those things in the school, or even a swimming pool. They're also surprised to see a stage where there's a theater inside of a school. They're surprised that we have music, instruments and things in schools as well. So that's a real experience for them if they could get a tour of your high school and maybe see some activities going on while there. Shopping, of course, is always popular when they're here. Um, Family game night, and just some local landmarks. And of course, if your students here during the 4th of July, that's always really fun for them with the fireworks, parades. Parades are very American. So there's a list in the guidebook. There's also a list of suggestions for you, and I'm sure you can come up with your own ideas as well.